Good morning from beautiful Brisbane, Australia. How are you this morning? Welcome, Conscious Warriors, to Hump Day, and it's great to be here with you. It's been an amazing week, and we've certainly processed a lot, and thanks for the feedback yesterday too, because that was amazing how a number of you were able to put into place the process and step by step and get to understand what the unconscious trigger was and then how to rebuild into your life a really conscious effort to change things around for yourself. And it was just amazing. And yesterday in group 2, we had incredible things happening where people all over the world are literally joining together and they meet in group and they are starting to spread all the information I teach around the world between each other. So they spend time sharing what they've learned to help each other and break free and connect and impact lives one step at a time. And I'm so proud of all of you for making the effort, because with complex trauma, we can feel that it's safer not to connect. We can feel that we'll manage life better if we don't engage in community. And what we do in our Facebook group is we all know that it's a safe space to begin to come out of our shell and use our voice, learn how to express ourselves. And then as we go through the process of recovery, the connections are being made globally now. So well done, everyone. And to Healing Faith, it's just been an amazing journey to see you go from somebody where we work together to get you able to even get to the front door, to have you now stepping outside the front door as you've learned and gone along and, taken your recovery into your own hands, and then to run into your abuser and have no response at all, not to freeze, not to shut down, not to have an over-emotional response, because it's terrifying. But to use the neurology information that we teach to break free. And, you live in a small town, so you're going to run into them, and you have done the most amazing, amazing work to continue to break free and reclaim your life. So yesterday I was just about in all happy tears reading what everybody was doing. So well done. We're just amazing, the changes that we're making in the world, helping each other. Let's keep doing this. And we've set the date for our party. Okay, so if you haven't seen the meme, the information yet, here it is. So the dress code's PJs, okay? No one else will see you. The dress code's PJs. And we're going to have a celebration in our Facebook group for the year, for all that we've done and discovered and broken free from. And because we now have over 1,000 family members around the globe that jump in and use the group as a resource for recovery, and that was pretty special. So we're going to have some fun and games, and there's going to be prizes which I'll provide for you, those who are able to turn up live or make a response to the group post in group will receive my new book that's going to be released, Trauma and Shame, for free. So jump into group if you'd like to do that. And so I think that's all the family news that we need this morning. And then I wanted us to be able to have a discussion or get involved in a thought process about how we're raising the next generation. Okay, so I was out at the shops yesterday, and as I was going through the checkout, I looked over and there was this little, probably a 4-year-old little boy, 5-year-old, and he was, he was very upset. And then I looked around, there was his older brother, probably 2 years older, and Mum was very quiet as she navigated the whole process, and you can tell what people are doing at home when their kids are out, generally speaking. And the kids knew the process of, when they had an argument, that they had to say sorry and they had to forgive each other. And the older boy said, I'm not forgiving him. This is not happening. And I just smile because, as parents, we know that we go through the whole process, and it's a constant process of teaching our kids about their emotions and, what it looks like, how we're going to go about it, how we're going to raise the next generation differently to how we were raised, so it's more effective and we're not passing down the generations of trauma, not just psychologically, but, we want to teach them not to hold on to stuff. So when I saw the little boy and he's going, I'm not forgiving him, I'm like, okay, we need to sit down and think about in our families, what were the rules around saying sorry? I mean, did anybody ever say sorry to us when there was emotional wounds? Did our parents teach us any emotional language? Are we learning it in order that we can teach our children? These are things that we need to ask ourselves in order that we do begin the changes. And it doesn't matter if our kids are older, we still want to do it for our grandkids, okay? And we still want to do it for any of the children that are around us that we have the ability to influence or impact in their lives. We want to be able to help them navigate their emotions, because remember, for us, when we were in the traumatic situations, we had no language, all right? And there was no communication between parent and child. So in our family, it was like, as we discussed yesterday, it was very much, you don't talk about your emotions, and if you do, then you're different and you don't belong in our family. Okay, and these are all the non-verbal cues. So if it was you, what would you say to the little boy who says, I'm not going to forgive you? And I really sat down and thought about different ways that we can go about it. Now, remember, with complex PTSD, we must remember that everyone's different and how every family approaches it will be different. So if we were to start at the external and look at how the whole emotional argument was impacting the older boy, we would say, well, we can see that his heart's really hard. I'm not going to do this. I'm not going to forgive him. And his whole being was expressing how angry he was. Now, we need to, as adults, say, okay, well, at a heart level, we're not going to tell him how to feel, but we're going to teach him how to go into that space that he's safe to go into, the space where he can soften his heart and begin to think about it. What are his needs? Now, of course, we're not, age appropriate here. We're not going to say to a 6-year-old, unless we've already been down this path, what is it you need? What do you see that you need? And he may not have language for it yet, so we're going to go through and teach him language, okay? What's he feeling inside that makes him feel like he can't forgive? Now, when we haven't had this happen to us in our childhood, it can seem overwhelming for us, like, how am I going to do this? And one of the things that we can do is sit with them and get them to draw. You can Google an emotional wheel for kids and for adults. So go for it. Get one for kids and sit down, have it in front of you and let them draw their feelings. Now, one of the things that's really important too is to identify how they process. So remember, male and female can process differently, all right? Generally speaking. So as women, we like to talk it through. We like to talk the process through. Men generally speaking, don't like to talk the process through. They may have, so my sons will come to me and talk to me, but I'd listen, but they'll go away and they process it differently. And some of the guys in our group are different again. They'll move through their emotions. They'll process it as they move. So one person will play the guitar, another person does their arts and craft, and it's very different. So you want to be flexible as a parent in how you approach helping them to express and understand what's happening for them emotionally, and getting them to feel safe to do that. Because if we can teach them at a young age that it's safe to go through all the negative emotions as well as the positive, then their brain development is going to be helped out of sight. Okay? So they're not going to end up in a space where their unconscious is wired that they're not safe to feel their emotions and they're not safe to express their emotions. Rather, they're going to be wired their whole life that they are safe to go in and examine the negative emotions and the positive and to determine their forward steps from here on in. Okay, so we want to give them that support. And for us as adults, having come through so many generations of trauma, we need to make the emotional journey a journey, not a destination. So I know that I've had to learn too that we've got to be flexible around this. It may not be the same answer in the same situation in two different time frames, okay? So we have to be able to say, okay, that's what happened last time. This is how you felt last time. But is it different for you this time? So become a person that asks questions, not a person that makes statements, okay? Or become a parent that is curious. Now remember, with complex PTSD, our curiosity got shut down, all right? We're in survival brain, so the last thing we wanted to be was curious. We wanted to stay safe. So we developed this in adulthood to be curious and keep our kids curious about exploring their emotions. And if they have to get up and leave and go and do something else for a while, then that has to be okay too. We come back to it. We bring the awareness back to the situation. You're their mum, okay? And I can only speak as a mum. I wasn't a dad. That you know your children infinitely better than anyone else ever will, okay? But have time frames. Say, okay, you need to go away and think about that for an hour, because then you're doing a dual thing. You're teaching them about time as well, all right? And say, we'll come back, we'll just let it go for a minute. We'll come back in half an hour, we'll come back in an hour, depending on their age, okay? And then go, right, let's come back. Let's start where we are and see how we can move forward from here. Forgiveness is definitely a heart condition, and there is lots of adults all over the world who have a different opinion about it and different experiences of it. Personally, I found that it's a heart condition, and it's just up to me whether I want to go there or not. And it's up to them. But I have taught my children how to say sorry, and it's followed them into adulthood. I have taught them how to communicate with each other, and that the primary goal of any situation is that we're in this together. No matter what, no matter how tough it is, we're in this together, and we're not going to deviate from that, because if we're in this together, then we'll work through the problem and find a solution together, all right? And that's so vital in relationships, that we get to experience that we do this together, okay? Now, I have put together a handout for this, all of this information, because it can be a lot to absorb all at once. And I want you to feel comfortable to just put one process into place at a time. And another funny thing I heard too is one mother had a really big T-shirt where she'd put the kids in together and they had to stay in the T-shirt. I'm not recommending it. It would be a family with an incredible sense of humour until the kids could get comfortable being with each other. And they were older kids, not little kids, okay? So you want to come up with creative ways. Sit down with some paper and colours and draw the colours of the emotions, okay? You can come up with lots of creative ways to help them get the emotions out, because we know now that if the emotions don't come out, they cause ill health. Grab a copy of Dr. Bessel van der Kolk's The Body Keeps the Score, and that goes through the whole science of it all, and you'll understand why it's so important that we are the starting place for our children to develop healthy emotional communication skills and identify their emotions and be able to take that into their adult life as well, especially for our brain development. Okay, gang, I'll see you again tomorrow morning. Thanks for joining in. It was great to have you here. And I heard the most beautiful saying yesterday, I see you sky big. Have a great day.